Okay, this one's a bit tricky. So, of course, for DSA and big tech, you have to study a lot in order to pass. There's just pretty much every big tech on site, you'll probably get at least one like lead code hard level problem, like a final boss type problem. So you got to make sure you study, you build that DSA muscle quite a lot. Care a little is something I want to explain about a lot more. So just to harkening back to my earlier days as a junior engineer here, essentially, if you look at my career trajectory, like how long I've been working, and then my passion for interviews, like in the beginning, my passion for interviews was like really trash, and then it like went really high over time. But I did so many interviews as a UCLA student trying to get a job that I essentially flipped my mindset around interviewing. So it's kind of a mix of like realizing I needed to flip my mindset, plus I just kind of had to because I was failing so much. So um, what I realized was if I went into these interviews and saw them as a make or break opportunity, um, like it wasn't really healthy for my mental state overall because, make or break means like, if I pass this interview, I'm going to be super happy and I've made it and my life will completely change for the better. And then, if I fail, it's broken, like my career is broken. I suck, and I did a terrible job and I should feel bad. If you have this mentality going into interviews, especially earlier on where you're going to fail most of your interviews, like you're just going to get so like depressed so fast because like every single interview fail is going to just like completely tear you down. And this job searching stuff, especially kind of getting big tech, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can't set up your mindset in a way where if you fail an interview, you just completely break down. You're not going to be able to get to the next one. So what I ended up doing was I ended up flipping my mindset about interviews. Instead of going into interviews like, oh man, if I don't get this, I'm going to feel so sad because like, I could have made my career in this case, but I didn't. I went in seeing them as an opportunity to just hang out with some smart, cool tech people and just like chat a bit. And then if I happen to get a job offer out of it, then that's cool. But then if not, then I mean, that's okay. There's more interviews. So I essentially went into interviews like caring less about them, which I know is a bit counterintuitive because it is true that if you pass an interview, especially a big tech interview, your life does change dramatically for the better. But like if you focus on that, like during the interview, you're you're just gonna have so much anxiety that again, that like mental flexibleness and nimbleness is just not gonna be there. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but like the less you care about the interviews going into them, the higher the chance you have of performing in them and passing. Because the more relaxed you are, the more nimble you are, and the more nimble you are, the better you will be at solving those problems. Yeah, Rahul, anything to
Yeah,
add here?
I think that last point is critical. The way I like to think about it, and I mentioned this in one of my previous YouTube videos, is be input driven, not output driven. And the reason you want to adhere to that as a life philosophy is that you can control what you put into a system. You can control like how much effort you're putting in. You can control, this idea of I'm going to do 1 hour of leak code every single day. You can control that. But what you cannot control is you getting an offer, right? There's so many things that, like your interviewer might be having a bad day, or you might have just gotten a really hard question, like an unlucky question, right? Like there's so many things that aren't in your control. But what you can control is how much you study. And that's exactly what that bullet point is saying. And one more thing I want to also mention is around the take frequent breaks and turning into a habit. That is also critical. This is not just me and Alex anecdotally talking about what worked for us, although that did work for us. But there's also a really strong scientific basis for this. It's proven that if you do tactics like spaced repetition and repeatedly attacking the problem, or like a concept over time, you will retain it with much higher likelihood compared to if you just did that same amount of effort in a compact amount of time. And so rather than approaching it as like, I'm going to spend 6 hours on a Saturday or Sunday doing leak code, it's way better. And you're going to perform much better on DSA if you can split up those 6 hours and do it like 1 hour every day.